All right, everybody. We're back. Episode 232 for Purple Friday show. A somber one because, look, we were outside. We were outside on Sunday, expecting a Ravens win, dominating. We came on here last Thursday and gave our scores like they were going to put up 35, 40 points. Ravens didn't do any of that. And lose the game. Was it 24-19? I think it was the final score. I believe it
Yep.
was.
Mm-hmm.
It actually, and then it wasn't even that close to be honest, because that last touchdown was a garbage touchdown. It was a garbage touchdown. It was almost no time left on the clock to get anything going. And look, I'll let you guys go first. I'll go last because it's just like I'll start off with if everybody I think saw the box score. If you just looked at the box score for the game, it looked like a typical Ravens like this. They should win, right? But this is why you can't just go off paper. You have to watch the football game. So let you guys get to it.
Yeah, this was a weird week. I'll say that. Did go down to the game, tailgated pretty heavy, so the details were a little bit fuzzy. But I did, I came by the time I came back home and rewatched and everything. It was just one of those weird games. Like it was almost like, we kind of got off to a hot start. Things were kind of clicking on offense. Got Mark Andrews with we started I think with a field goal, 3 points, tuck right down the middle, and then Mark Andrews got that nice touchdown in the end zone over Blankenship, just completely mossed them. Lamar threw a nice pass just to give Andrews the opportunity to make a play. He did. Touchdown. Oh, okay, we rolling. We up 9-0. And then Tuck lines up for the extra point. Misses it. This ain't good. So immediately, the air just went right out of the stadium. I do remember that. And it was kind of like set the tone for the rest of the game almost. We really couldn't get nothing going. I mean, offensively, we were just kind of really, really staggered when we had red zone opportunities. And, the obvious person to blame is Justin Tucker, and he does share probably the brunt of the blame. Because in certain games when we don't have things clicking on all cylinders, we at least expect our kicker to get some points on the board in some way, shape, or fashion. So if we can't get six, we should at least be guaranteed three, especially the field goals that he was attempting, which were very, very makeable field goals, especially for, Justin Tucker. But, he's been on a slump. Harbaugh's know he's been on a slump. Harbaugh's been defending him week after week after week. And he keeps marching him out there week after week after week. And, that's just kind of what you get. But, yeah, I mean, Lamar's missed a few throws in this game as well. He missed a few in the previous game, but he did that as well. But once again, I stand by that. I still think he did enough for us to win the game had certain things went our way. We can't blame penalties on this game because from what I remember, we weren't really that heavily penalized. But it was just certain key things in the game where it was just like we just didn't give ourselves a chance to extend plays and, just yardage situations. More third and longs than we have third and shorts and things like that. It's just like the little things that just kind of added up throughout the game. Defensively, I think we did what we could against Saquon. He had 107 yards rushing, I believe, in a TD. Even though we held him to that, you would think, like I said, Miles, you looked at, like you said, you look at a box score. I mean, it's not like he went off. I mean, but you also look at some plays where it's like when he was running, it was a lot of arm tackling out there, a lot of missed tackles. The touchdown score he had, guy just diving at his arm, trying to get the strip but not being disciplined, making a tackle. Whole lot of that type of stuff going on. But at the end of the day, we just didn't put up enough points. I mean, the blocking has been abysmal. Our run blocking especially, but this was not Makari's greatest showing. Makari, I will say, has the last 3 weeks or so has not looked very, very good, whether it's his play or whether it's him getting flagged. But, as far as his play, he did not look good in this game. Very, very unfortunate, especially just our interior blocking altogether. the Eagles' interior defensive line just kind of had their way there. I mean, they were really just kind of playing bully ball. They were the bully in this game. I think this game was one in the trenches throughout the course of the game. They just could not do anything with the Eagles' defensive line, which did not have Brandon Graham on it because he's out for the year. But those guys in there, they couldn't do nothing with them. And I think, some of our early season issues and concerns that we had with our offensive line, it starts to show ourselves when we're playing elite premium teams down the stretch. This is something that we're going to have to monitor, as we approach trying to make, the playoff season, because, we're going to be going against the best of the best. We have to expect that we might see, if we make the playoffs, that we might see Chris Jones or we're going to see these guys again. We're going to see TJ Watt again in a couple of weeks. Like, the offensive line did not look that great. And, that played a major part in disrupting what our offense could do on Sunday. But just to wrap it up, just a very, very, very mediocre game. Like you said, the box score makes it look okay, but that last drive actually kind of pumped the numbers up way, way high in that garbage time. Eagles were pretty much in a prevent defense. They were just trying not to make mistakes, really, and we were able to kind of march down the end of the field and get that last touchdown to attempt the onside kick. But, all in all, it's really, really difficult to win these type of games when the leadership in your organization is not superior. Like, John Harbaugh literally does nothing in these games. It's evident. You can't really see any type of adjustments that he's responsible for. It's kind of like the guys that he's hired, they're just responsible for everything. So when they make any mistakes or if they make decisions, he doesn't have the knowledge on the sidelines to veto any of those things or to come up with just a better idea to put us in position to win games. And when your team is struggling and we're not converting and we're not extending plays, there's really no answers. You're just asking Lamar Jackson to go out there and be Superman. And, it's worked for us majority of John's career, but, it's going to show its ugly self when in those most important moments, which are, is us coming down the stretch now. Now, I still believe in the team. I think we won a Super Bowl one year when we lost like our last 4 games of the season or something like that. This we can't do that this year, and still think we're gonna get in the playoffs. But as alarming as things sound, I still think we have the talent on the roster to try to turn things around a little bit. I'm not as concerned with the defense. Nothing too alarming, but we have a bye week coming up. Travis Jones might get healthier. Some things on the we might look a little bit better depending on how things goes. And yeah, I just think that our coaches are going to play a big part of what happens next. It's a whole lot of stuff happening right now. I'm sure we're going to get to it. Deontay Johnson and guys just kind of on some rebelling against the organization. Like, Rashad Bateman just came out, knee soreness. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff, that happened in this game. And, we can chalk it to Justin Tucker. Like I say, he missed those kicks. But, I think it's deeper than rap here. I think it's a lot to think about. I think the bye week has come at probably the best time it possibly could have come, because it's the only way that we can kind of, figure this thing out. So hopefully on the next episode of Hard Knocks, John Harbaugh actually coaches, and that'll be a good sign, but we'll see, because we're in a bye week and he's probably going to be doing even more nothing, but we'll see how it goes. All in all, just a bad game. Really, really bad, mediocre game. Eagles didn't do anything special in this game. They just kind of out-bullied us and got the dub. So,
if I was to summarize this game up, remember when Dennis Green was the coach of the Cardinals, and he said, we know who they are, and we let them off the hook. We saw who the Eagles are. We knew who they were, and we let them off the hook. We knew they were going to run with Saquon. We knew they were going to attack the middle of the field. We knew it. We were prepared for it. Saquon got over 100 yards, but 25 was on that one run. We were able to neutralize him compared to the rest of the NFL. But we let them off the hook. You know, I think I said it when me and Miles talked on the phone after the game. When Justin Tucker missed that extra point, that sucked the life out of the Ravens team. We started out pretty good. We were moving the ball up and down the field. We were able to make some throws. Lamar wasn't perfect, but he had some big plays to Zay. But we let them off the hook. When Justin Tucker mixed that extra point, it's like our momentum just skyrocketed down. That's when Philly started attacking the middle of the field. That's when, for some reason, our play calling became very predictable. That's when Lamar started just missing throws. That's when we saw some drops. We saw bad offensive line play. And that just caused a downward spiral the rest of the game. And even when we tried to recover, we saw missed field goal after missed field goal. And you could just see the morale of the team go down. You could see the energy of the team go down. And Trey, I think you said it to us on the call too. Like, the energy in the stadium just went down. And not to put it all on Tucker, but I mean, if my team's morale is going down because of missed field goals during the game, who the hell is supposed to get them back up? The head coach. Who's supposed to rally the team? The head coach. Who's supposed to ring in as his coordinators and get some adjustments made with the game plan? It falls on the head coach. And what we find out time and time and time again, Miles, you say it all the time, when Harbaugh goes against any solid team, he gets out-coached every single time. So as much as the blame goes on Tucker, I put so much more blame on Harbaugh. He does not have his hand on the pulse of this team. He does not know how to manage these situations. If Lamar isn't out there being an MV3, he does not know how to get this team to respond. He doesn't. And Corey said it. Those misses change how offense and defense play the rest of the game. Yeah, and that's why it's up to the coaches to be able to adjust and to spark some life into the offense. Like, I think the thing I said last week when the Ravens were playing the Chargers, like when Lamar came out throwing high, hey, it's up to your OC to get you in rhythm. He was inaccurate in this game early. And your OC has to get you in rhythm. Where were the justice plays? There weren't. Where's the quick screen to Zay, the quick screen to Justice? They get Lamar in rhythm. Where's the wheel route? I think we've given up on that toss play the past couple weeks. Early in the year, we were seeing it about 5 to 6 times a game. I've probably seen it once a game these past couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I think we just don't. Yeah, and from the coaching standpoint, we do not know how to respond. We know how to call a game and manage a game when we're up and things are going good. But when things are going down, if Lamar isn't Superman, we do not know how to respond as play callers and as a head coach. I'm gonna leave that there though, because I'm gonna talk about the players. Lamar got to step up, man. Lamar has been too indecisive as of late. He's been inaccurate, and there's so many yards he left out on that field. And you can see it. Like, he hesitated so many times. I think there was a run. He got like 14 yards, somewhere around there. But he hesitated the whole way. Like, oh, do I want to run? Do I want to throw? Like, and nothing was there. Like, Philly covered well. Philly did cover well. I'm sure Trey got a better look at it. The Philly covered well, and Lamar did not know what to do. He was so indecisive. But when you think about 2019 Lamar, hate to go back that far, he's taken off. He's taken off without hesitation. And I think, his mom cussing him out was good for him, because I think she knows my son should have been taken off. My son should have been decisive. So I gotta throw some blame Lamar's way. You have to be decisive as the leader of this football team. This team can be carried to a Super Bowl on your back. That is how good you are. That's how much of a generational talent you are. You have that ability, but you have to be decisive. You have to be decisive. Offensive line, there were so many missed blocks. There was so much lazy block in this game. Makari, I remember when we used to love Makari, man. He's looking like a shell of himself. Rosengarten, he got beat often. There was just a lot of laziness in the blocking game. Granted, the Philadelphia Eagles front four is crazy. They are so talented. I'm gonna give that to them. They are talented, but we got to step up on the offensive line. Receivers got to get open. Philly's a talented defense, but our receivers did not get open. There were so many times where Philly just had them covered, and like you see Lamar staring them down, not knowing what to do because you think Zay's about to get open, but then you see a safety coming up over top. So receivers have to get open. I put some of it on the offensive coordinator because he needs to scheme them open in some of these moments where the receivers are getting covered because you're playing such a talented defense. Defensively, we had a solid game, but I don't understand why Owe got so little snaps. I think Orr said, or maybe it was Harbaugh about, this is a heavy run game. I mean, who's your best run defender on the edge? It's Owe. Who sets that edge time and time again and locks it down? It's Owe. And if he's also one of your best pass rushers and best run defenders, why are his snaps so low for this game? Because we had 2 sacks, but were they impactful? They were in the first quarter, and we saw no more pressure when Jalen was dropping back. And that was critical on some key plays. Jalen Hurts didn't throw for a lot of yards, but he made some key plays that led to scores. Secondary, I wasn't mad at it. I wasn't mad at the secondary. I wasn't mad at the linebackers. Overall, defense was solid. But I think making the right plays at the right time, forcing turnovers when we need it, we need those plays made by this defense. We definitely need it. But overall, it comes down to the coaching. It comes down to those missed field goals because those put us in a position to not be successful. Corey, that's another guy that I'm just wondering what has he done to get his snaps taken away because I haven't seen Trenton Simpson play bad this year. Well, we're seeing Trenton Simpson, we're seeing Owe get less snaps in favor of Malik Harrison and Chris Board. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if Orr has like a doghouse similar to Harbaugh, but we're seeing guys that we've known to make plays this season get their snap counts cut in half. Not like down by 10, but cut in half. Owe had 29 snaps, I think, on Sunday. And when you're playing one of the best teams in the league, why is the guy that's tied for sacks on your team, one of your best edge run defenders, the best edge run defender, only playing 29 snaps? That's insane. So, yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, just saying we need more from our coaches, man. We need more offensively, but we need more from our coaches.
So being Thanksgiving weekend, like what's the one thing you don't do, when food's on, you don't leave the yams on the table. They left the yams on the table. We said this last year, right? I think around the same time. Yeah. The Ravens left the yams on the table. They were there, ready to go. Left them on the table. I mean, the lines across the NFL had everybody had the Ravens winning by at least 7 points. Like it wasn't even close. Like they're like, yeah, the Eagles are surging right now, but this Ravens team at home, they're just going to win this football game. And I think Travis, you and I said it, I think on the phone, it just. And I think Trey, you said the same thing. It felt like they didn't want to be there, right? It just felt like they were. I don't know what Harbaugh said to them, pregame or whatever, but it felt like they were ready to just go on bye week. It really did feel like all the intensity and everything else they had went into that Chargers game. And when they got to the Philly, it had nothing left. That's what it felt like. Lamar missing the throws, man. Like you guys said, like, I mean, where are the drag routes? Why is everything Lamar, I think in his post game was talking about why he's being hesitant on running, and he was saying, I'm waiting for the play to develop down the field, going through my progressions and stuff. I'm like, we said this how many times? I don't know how many years we've been saying this. Why are the Ravens always running these 20-yard routes downfield? Like, where's the levels to this? Where's the underneath? Where's the the running back coming out of the backfield? Where's the guy on the outright? Like, there's no diversity in these routes. Like, we saw it earlier in the season. Hell, we saw last season when the Ravens went on a run when they beat the Seahawks, beat the 49ers, they beat the Lions. We saw how dynamic this offense was. And then for some reason, every year, they switch it up and go completely away from what got them there. Like you guys said, the toss play. I don't know if I saw that once in that game against Philly. Not one time. Rashawn Ali and Keaton Mitchell, why are they even active at this point? It's not their fault. Not their fault. But they're getting 0 snaps on offense. Like, they're literally just using Derrick Henry and Justice Hill at this point. They're not even using Ali and Keaton Mitchell. I don't understand what's going on there. The special teams continues to be trash. Tylan Wallace is not a punt returner. I'm sorry. I don't know how many times that man has fielded a ball at the 2-yard line instead of letting it bounce in the end zone. Like, the mindset of this team doesn't make sense, right? I will give Zach Orr credit. I say that for the last 3 games, while the Ravens haven't looked great offensively, the defense has gotten better. All right, they haven't been giving up a whole bunch of points. They've been in games, but the one thing they're still not doing well is they're not getting sacks, they're not getting takeaways. I think they had that one takeaway in the last 3 games. And that was Marlon Humphrey in his interception. They've had one takeaway in the last 3 games. The Ravens were ranked 2nd in the league last year in takeaways. You know what they're ranked now?
Last
25th.
25th. Sheesh.
25th. That's what they're ranked with: the Falcons, the Dolphins, the Patriots, and the Bengals. But you see, most of those teams all have losing records, but the Ravens have a winning record because the Ravens offense doesn't turn the ball over. That's another. Lamar has done a good job of holding on to the football. And that's what the frustrating part is. Like, we've seen this offense get better with what they're doing. They're not turning the football over in a dumb way, right? They were running the football more effectively. They were getting more receivers involved in the passing game. They were using all 3 of their tight ends at one point. It appears Mark Andrews, I think, has gone back to his elite level now. I was watching Steve Smith podcast last night, and he said, I think we said this too, that car accident he had in preseason definitely hurt him, like physically. I don't know what, it didn't disclose it or whatever, but he was dealing with something for the first several weeks of the season. But I think for the last 2 to 3 weeks, he's been jumping out of the end zone now, catching footballs. Like, he's back to his old self. So I'm glad he's there. But likely he's not involved anymore. I don't see what's going on there. We saw Zay getting frustrated on the sideline during that Eagles game. He was getting frustrated. Deontay Johnson not wanting to go into the game once Bateman got concussed. This team right now, you look at the rest of the schedule, the 4 games they got left. You got the Steelers, the Browns, Texans, and the Giants, right, coming up. But you look at what they got left, and just the way this team is right now mentally, they can't seem to put a complete game together. Every week is something different. Finally, the defense starts stepping up, even though they're not getting takeaways, but the defense is starting to step up, and now the offense is slacking. Special teams been slacking since last year. Special teams been ass for 2 years. It's been terrible. But again, I think this also, it's not, I know we want to put blame on, we put some blame on Lamar for this, and I do too, because when like you guys said, the yardage that he's leaving on the field, if he decides to go on some of these plays, but the linebackers literally have their backs turned because they're trying to go cover the tight ends wherever down the middle of the field, they're giving you 20 yards. Like, it's with Lamar and his speed, he can get that in 2 seconds. Like, it's not even close. And that changes the dynamic of the defense. Like, now you have to cover that. But they've said defenses now for the last few weeks are like, we know we've realized Lamar's not running on a lot of these plays unless it's like he's scrambling out of it. try to get extra yardage and stuff. But there are no design runs right now. So they're like, they're not really playing it. You can see the defense are backing up. They're not playing at the line of scrimmage like they did earlier in the season. Like they're backing up now. They're giving Lamar and them 14, 15 yards. Go ahead. But Lamar's not doing it. He's not taking it. And again, I think it's in his own head where he's like, I'm trying to prove that I'm this passer. I can win with passing. I'm not trying to just win with running and everything. But Lamar is a good passer now. Like he's good. But he's an elite runner. He's elite with the ball in his hands. And I think Corey said it too, and some of the people in the chat said the same thing. You got to do what got you there. Forget about the narratives. Forget about what the media is going to say. Because look, the media has changed their whole tune, right? When Lamar came into the league, oh, he runs too much. He's just a running back that can throw the football. Now they're saying he's not running enough. So you can't win for losing. Like you can't. He's got to go play football. And I'm actually glad his mom said something finally. I'm actually glad because I think that's the one person he listens to. Out of anybody, I think the one person he listens to is mom. And I think mom had enough. And she was like, look here, son. Go do what you do, man. Like, go do what you do. Like, stop worrying about if you're going to upset Zay, you upset Bateman or something, and they were like down the field or something. You should have thrown to me. Yeah, I got 30 yards in this play, though. Like, we've seen Nelson Aguilar now. How many passes he dropped? Crucial catches on third down. He's been Lamar's like third down guy for the last few weeks, and he's dropped most of them. You can't count on these guys. And I'll put a good chunk of this on Eric DeCosta and the Ravens front office. We're seeing what the Ravens prioritized in the offseason, right? The only thing that they really added was Derrick Henry. They didn't add anything on the O-line. They didn't add anything as far as edge rusher. You're looking at Ajabo I think I pulled the snap count. Ajabo, who hasn't played, he's only played in 2 games now out of the last 6. He had 22 snaps in week 10, and he had 8 snaps in this game against Philly. So you have Ajabo, who you're expecting, you third rounder, who you thought was going to be a first round pick, hasn't produced. Always snaps get cut in half. Actually, I'm looking at the snap count here. I think he looks like he had 15 snaps in that game. He had 15 snaps. So it's less than 29. He had 15 snaps. Tavius Robinson actually took more his snaps. Tavius Robinson took his snaps. And we look at like I said, you've banked on a project at right tackle, a couple guys that were late round draft picks in the interior line, and you got Linderbaum at center. But you didn't spend any money trying to bring Zeitler. You could have brought Zeitler back. You could have brought him back for cheap. Could have brought him back, a Pro Bowl guard, right guard, solidified that side.
Didn't pay Bozeman.
But this is a Ravens trend, right? How many times have we let go of solid offensive linemen to say, oh, we can just go in the draft and find them? That worked for a while, but at some point it stops working. I will say honestly, I'm leave out Linderbaum. Marshall Yanda was the last great lineman that the Ravens have drafted, and he's retired now. That was the last time. We let Ryan Jensen go. He was a fan favorite. We've let a lot of good talent on offensive line go off, and they've been banking on Falafel. Banking on him. Ben Cleveland, who barely even plays. He's in Harbaugh's doghouse. Forever, right. He's never going to play. Again, the how they construct the offense on the backfield right now. I said it's just Henry and Justice. But you got Rashawn Ali and Keith Mitchell. You can at least add something different to it at this point in the season, something different that the defenses haven't seen, right? But I think the perfect play that encapsulated that game was when Cooper DeJean came and tackled Derrick Henry. Took him off his feet. Just grabbed him and scooped him and just drove him into the ground. After that, I think after that play, that Eagles defense was on one after that. They're like, oh, it's ours now. And they said, I think we've said it, and I'm telling several people have said it now. This play like a Raven stuff, we attributed that to the early Ravens, the 2000 Ravens, up to when Ray Lewis retired. But the Ravens now, since 2017, this Ravens team is soft. They're a finesse football team. Like they said, they're a finesse football. They're not a power football team. That black and blue, we always talk about, beat them up kind of team. They're not this team anymore. And I think as fans, we got to get that through our heads now. They're not that team anymore. They're a finesse team. Playing in a division, you play against NFC East and AFC North teams, that's black and blue divisions. They're not built the right way. And since Harbaugh's been the head coach here, he let Pollard, letting Ed Reed, Ray Lewis, Suggs, a lot of those players just kind of walk. Anquan Bolden too, and he's been constructed this team the same his mindset. They're a bunch of Boy Scouts. They're great off the field. They do a lot of charity work, and they're good people. They're good people. But they're not the same. And look, I'm not saying that you gotta be a bad person to play, good football on defense or whatever. But there's a certain guys. I think I was watching First Take, and I think it was Jeff Saturday and them, and Downey Foxworth said the same thing. You got to have a couple of those guys on the team that have the screws loose. Like you got to have a couple of those guys. Like in the normal, like outside the field, they're just normal. But when they get on the field, you got to kind of calm them down a few times. Like they're a little out there. But the Ravens don't have guys like that. They don't have guys that cause issues. They don't have guys that cause problems. Anytime that anybody voices their concern, what we've seen, that we saw Marcus Williams, right? Marcus Williams voiced his concerns about the defense, and we haven't seen him since. Been off the field. Deontay Johnson gets suspended now for a game. I'm pretty sure he's going to be cut before the week is out. He'll be cut. I'm pretty sure. Anybody that voices any kind of displeasure, any kind of concern about the team is immediately met with an iron fist. Immediately. There is no questioning the coaches or what we're doing as a team, or what our goal is, and why are we doing what we're doing. Like I said, the guys are just sitting on the sideline, just kind of sitting there at the things happen. No one's getting anybody else's face. And I think again, Harbaugh's like that. They said he's like a guidance counselor. He wants to be everybody's best friend. I just want to get you where you want to go. He's like a high school football. He's like, he'd be perfect for high school football. Perfect for high school football. But this is the pros, man. This is the pros. You see the Chiefs right now have like cut and signed a kicker now in the last couple of days. Like, because Harrison Butker is out, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But they've been, and a couple other teams done the same thing. But the calls have been coming in of like the Tucker situation is like, you got to do something here. Because the giving him a hug on the sideline, I know you guys saw that. They gave him a hug on the sideline after he came on the field. Gave him a hug.
After the last miss, right?
Yeah. Did Lamar get a hug when he was, throwing the airmail on the football? No, he didn't get a hug. The several Ravens didn't get hugs with that, but he gave Tucker a hug. That's what he needed. Yeah, I even saw a video of a fan dapping him up. He was leaving the stadium, and the fan walked up to his car, dapped him up, like, "You good, man? You good?" And it's like, no. We've been through this before. We saw Billy Cundiff. We can see it coming. We can almost smell it now. It's like we make the playoffs. We're in the game. We got a chance to win the football game. And what do they always say about the playoffs? Things that were issues in the regular season are magnified in the playoffs. I can just smell it. Ravens are in it. They finally get down the field. Lamar drives them down to the 25-yard line. All we need is a kick from Tuck. Wide left. Game over. Ravens go out off season 1 and done. You got to do something now to shake this thing up. And I feel like Harbaugh's going to have like a hot chocolate soiree or something, during the week. Bring your family and friends. Kumbaya moments during the week. That's what he's going to have. When really you need to have this is reflection time for the team. Like we're definitely as a team, if you look at the Ravens, if I'm talking as a head coach, we're not the team we were last year. This is right now, we are not an AFC championship team. We're not there right now. We're not at that level. At 5 losses, potentially, by the end of the season, you could lose to the Browns again with their physical defense they play. You could lose to the Steelers again. That's 6 losses right there. And you got several teams right there in the standings right behind you that could easily take your spot. So they got to lock in. Lamar's got to lock in too. He's got to do his thing. Like he doesn't, get away from criticism here too, because like you said, with the airmailing the passes in the last few weeks, he hasn't looked like himself. I mean, it got it together later in the game, but how dynamic this offense was in the first few weeks, it's not there anymore. I think the plays are there, it's just not making them. But again, You went Nelson Aguilar as your third wide receiver. The Ravens aren't spending the right kind of capital on the positions they need. And I think we've said this last week. This game was going to come down to the trenches. Can the Ravens be physical enough to win this football game? And it wasn't close. Andrew Voorhees was active but did not start in this game. Why? We've seen McCarthy the last couple weeks getting beat several times. Why is he not? You got it. You can't keep. Harbaugh does this. He loves his guys thing, right? He loves. I don't want to ruin the guys their ego. I don't want to mess with their morale. I'm like, forget all. If they're not performing on the field, you gotta do something to get the best out of people. Forget about people's feelings, man. We try to win the Super Bowl. Forget about people's feelings. I'm sorry. And then this whole Deontay Johnson thing, this debacle is just. I said again, we could have gotten Zadarius Smith for a 5th round pick. Of all this, we could have gotten Zadarius for a 5th round pick. Complete debacle. This Ravens offseason may go down as one of the worst. And look, and you got a receiver in Devontae Walker not playing, TJ Tampa not playing. We went through the draft and how we looked at it. We looked at prospectus and stuff, saying these guys could look like they could actually contribute something to this team. Haven't seen the field. So yeah, I feel like this team, as it always will, as long as Harbaugh is head coach, will be I think the AFC Championship game last year was an anomaly. This will be a wild card team that they may win a game here and there, but they're eventually going to have to play a really good team in a divisional round, and they're probably going to lose. It is what it is. And when you're not, and look, I'll say this too on Sunday, it felt like a playoff atmosphere for that game. It did. It felt like a playoff game. Like that, like the fans, everything. It felt like a playoff game, and the Ravens did not come to play. They didn't. And I just feel bad for the fans because, like, look, again, we spend all this money to come watch this team. And I think after a while, fans just get sick of, hey, I'm dropping all this money buying jerseys and merch and all this other stuff, and you guys are coming out here piss poor performances. And they just came unprepared for that game. The fact that as Harbaugh, the fact that you got outcoached by Nick Sirianni, who I think is a worse coach than he is, should say something. Nick Sirianni outcoached you. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Time to fire him. Are we there?
Well, Harbaugh?
Yeah.
Oh, I've been said that. I said that 3 years ago.
Is there anything that can save his job?
I said that in 2018.
Except the Super Bowl. Can anything except the Super Bowl save his job?
No, I think that at this point, I think if he doesn't make it back to the AFC Championship game, you got to do something because now you're regressing. You're going backwards now. And then you're going to have Kyle Hamilton coming up on a contract at some point. You got Zay Flowers coming up on a contract at some point. You got a lot of key play. Likely is going to be coming up for a contract. Like you have a lot of key players. Marlon Humphrey is a free agent, I think, after this year. Ronnie Stanley's going to be a free. Like this, you don't have a lot of time. You got 4 games for real. Like this, you don't have a year. You got 4 games to get right this ship. You got 4 games because it may not look like this next year. To be honest, we could have an MVP quarterback, but now you got to find a left tackle. Now you got to find another starting cornerback. Now you got to probably find a replacement for Trenton Simpson. He's hadn't stepped up. There's what we thought in the beginning of the season that weren't issues are now issues during the year.
At some point, Biscotti is going to have to step in and save Lamar's legacy at this point. Like, we got him signed, but we know these years go by quick. And with the turnaround that we're talking about possibly having, like you said, we can't let this time go to waste. And I know that the organization is, it's like family based and everyone loves each other and everyone's the best of friends. But depending on how this year ends, Scotty got some decisions to make. And I hope he puts that friendly stuff to the side and do what's right for the organization.
But
so we'll see.
I'll say this too. Monken, they asked Monken yesterday. I think it was yesterday about he's been there are rumors going around that when these jobs will be kind of calling in the next few weeks about head coaching jobs. He could possibly be gone.
Yep,
Most likely.
The OC carousel continues.
And so now you got key positions to fill, and you got to fill that position.
Yeah.
The only saving grace I think right now is Harbaugh's brother-in-law is no longer coaching college basketball at Georgia. So there's no more family he could just pick from at this point.
It's not even besides that. Like this ain't good. This ain't good for Lamar Jackson. Like
the
another would be third coordinator now.
Yeah, rotate.
The only thing that we could do is, if we lose Monken, the only saving grace is elevating T. Martin, who has never called plays. I think they let him call them like parts of the preseason, but there's no like regular season experience calling plays. But
you would have another Zach Orr situation. Like, do you really have 10 weeks to figure it out? Like,
what organization that has Lamar Jackson as your quarterback locked up in this deal wants to experiment with something like that? Like,
I'm bringing an experience. Like I said, the bad part about it is that, like, if I'm Bisciotti I can't say Eric Casa. If I'm Ozzie, because Ozzie's still in the building. If I'm Ozzie and Steve Bisciotti, you saw this happen in 2014 when you asked John Harbaugh who his options were at OC. He gave them a list of who he wanted. They said no to every single one of them and went out and got Gary Kubiak.
Yeah.
Who was probably our best offensive coordinator we've ever had.
Before Monken, he was the best coordinator we've ever had. We were a top 10 offense with him. Top 10.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco.
The fact that you can't trust your head coach to fill out coordinator roles, like I said, again, even if they pick T. Martin, I would be upset because I'm like, how long is this going to take? 10, 11 weeks to get this figured out? And we could already be in the hole 5 or 6 losses by then. And we're just trying to struggle to even make the playoffs now. Like, you got a potential a guy that can win MVP for the 3rd straight year in a row.
Yeah.
Potentially. Like, if he balls out these next 4 weeks, he could potentially win MVP for the 3rd year. You can't experiment with this anymore. You need experienced guys. Even if you go to the college ranks, right? You get an experienced coordinator from there. Somebody that knows how to call these plays at Georgia or Ohio State or wherever. Like, you go to those big schools and, hey, you want to be OC here, potentially get a head coaching job next year, something like that. Or if you're going to hold on to Harbaugh I think he's got his contract ends at the end of 2025, and you want to bring an OC in that's potentially could take Harbaugh's job the next year, fine. But there's got to be a plan in place. I better not see Harbaugh get an extension after this. I might throw my TV out of the window if I see Harbaugh get like another 2-year extension. This is ridiculous.
Yeah, if there's no Super Bowl, you gotta let him go. Monken's probably gonna leave. You better bring in Ben Johnson. You better throw all the money you can at Ben Johnson.
Yeah. All right. Week 13 around the NFL. Let's see here. Who are we talking about? Oh, the Chiefs beat the Raiders because the Raiders the center. Now look. After watching the play and listening to the analysts and stuff, that wasn't on the center. He doesn't look back at the play. Like, he literally relies on the guard to let him know when to snap it. The guard misread what Aiden Connell was doing back there. He said, "Oh, you're good to go." Snaps the ball, hits him in the shoulder. Chiefs recover and win the game. The Chiefs have to be like the luckiest football team in NFL history. I've never seen over a 5-game stretch a team be so lucky. Like, they should have probably 3 or 4 losses right now, at least.
Is it a 5-game stretch? I think it's
the whole season. Like, it's they still don't look good. Like, they don't look like they did last year, where they were like at this point in the season where they were kind of on a roll and dominating teams. They still don't look good.
Aiden O'Connell threw for 340 on him.
That defense is not what it was last year.
Aiden O'Connell threw for 340. This is the Chiefs defense. Like, this is the defense they've been. Come on, man.
Hey, man, stop playing with my man Aiden O'Connell, bro. Second-year quarterback.
I get it, but that's supposed to be the Chiefs. It's supposed to be the Chiefs, and the defense is supposed to be their
Supposed to
anchor,
be top
really.
five,
But
It's leaky, man.
hey,
Pause, but it's
man,
leaky.
yeah.
Yeah.
The Packers beat the Dolphins 30-17. The streak continues with Tua not winning a game under 50 degrees. Everybody knew when they were going to Green Bay, like, yeah, they're gonna lose this game.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
a done deal.
I'll say they were talking about this on the radio. If they did another realignment, like a divisional realignment, like they did for the Ravens back, what was that, 297, 98, when
Central to North or something like that.
yeah. So moving the Dolphins out of the AFC East into the AFC South, and then taking like the Colts or something and moving them into the AFC East. Because with all the teams they play, you play the Jets, you play the Buffalo Bills, you play the Patriots. It can get to below zero in all three of those games that they're playing. In South Florida, they're not seeing those kind of temps. They're not built for that. Like, it's almost like they're doomed to fail at this time of year when they got to play these divisional games, especially away, because their team is just not. I don't care if you grew up in Wisconsin, you grew up in Michigan or Iowa. You go play in Miami most of the year, and you're training there, you live there. You're used to 75, 80 degree weather. When you're starting to play in 10-degree weather, your body's just not used to it. There's no way the Dolphins as a team can simulate playing at that temp. They just can't. So it's almost like they're doomed for failure. They're not built the right way. They have all this speed, right, on both sides of the ball. But the one thing about cold weather does is slows everything down. Slows everything down. And they said that I think Cam Newton was talking about Tua and why he's not able, like why he looks so bad in these cold weather games. Like, you gotta, like he was saying when he was in Carolina, he was like, when it's like 60, 70 degrees, yeah, I'm throwing darts, tight spiral, everything. When it hits 20 degrees and 20 degrees and only a slight breeze or something, that ball's coming up.
That's the weird part. That's the weird part about it. He threw for 365.
Yeah,
they couldn't run the ball. They ran as a collective for 39 yards the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. So
like the running game just disappeared, and they just had the wrong formula. I mean, they went out there with a game plan to throw 46 times in the cold weather, and you don't.
Yeah, like you run, but again, they got speed. And you need a Josh Jacobs. Like they need a Derek. Like for those kind of games in Green Bay, you need a linebacker that's 225. There's like 5'11", 6 foot, 225 that can just run the ball 30 times.
They only had 14 attempts at 14 carrying attempts, and that's between Tua, Mostert, and Achane.
And they lost by 15 points.
That's not the right game plan. That sounds like a Miami game plan at home.
Yeah,
sure. But that don't sound like a game plan going into Green Bay. With against a 9-3 football team. Or at the time they were 8-3. So, yeah, tough. What else?
Steelers beat the Bengals 44-38 in the game no one saw coming. Like, we expected the Bengals probably put up those kind of points. Steelers went off 44 points. That Bengals defense is trash.
Yeah, absolutely.
They might be I know they talk about the Ravens and that secondary, like the first 10 games. This Bengals secondary is trash. And a lot, they said, you look back at the game, a lot of the plays that they scored on were like short route plays. They just broke tackles and ran down the field. Like, they couldn't tackle.
Yeah.
They couldn't tackle in space. It wasn't like they were just throwing deep shots all game. A lot of the stuff was like 7-8 yards, but they broke a tackle and took it up for 40. Like, but I'll say this now. I know the media's been, glazing the Steelers for the last week now because of this game. Do you think the Steelers can keep this offense up, or was this more of an anomaly just because they played the Bengals?
Honestly, I do think this happened because they played the Bengals. However, this is the type of game that makes them believe there's somebody they're not. And the Steelers will actually use this going into their subsequent games. I think, as bad as the Bengals defense is, I do think something was figured out in this game. Russell still threw for over 400 yards passing. Russell still
Yeah.
threw 3 touchdown
Yeah, he
passes in
did.
this game. This is something that Russell has not done all year with the Steelers. It's not the Steelers offense has not looked like that. But when you play against a team like that and you start to realize what your offensive abilities actually are without any adversity whatsoever, what's to make you believe that they can't duplicate this in the next week and the next week and the next week? So even though, yes, the game might have been an anomaly just because the Bengals defense is so bad, I do think this is like a shot in the arm of like a whole nother level of confidence that they did not have in previous weeks.
Mm-hmm.
That is going to be really, really hard for teams going up against them in the next few weeks. Like Baltimore's in trouble. I'm gonna tell you right now, if their offense is clicking like this and their defense is already playing like that,
It could be a blowout.
it could get ugly. Like I said, if they actually believe that this style of play is sufficient for them in upcoming games, it's going to be a problem. The good news is that their defense still allowed 38 points.
Yeah, that was the first two. Yeah.
But the Bengals have been doing that to everybody.
That's true.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't think it was an anomaly, even though the Bengals defense is trash, because we've played trash teams and have not lived up to, we always play down to our competition for some reason. So the fact that they're able to go above and beyond and put up 44 points, and they haven't done that this year, it's a big confidence boost in them rolling for the rest of the season. So I hate it for them, and I hate it for us.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, everybody ate on that offense. They weren't just throwing that thing. They weren't just throwing that thing deep pause to George Pickens. Like, everybody ate. Like, Van Jefferson got some. Pause again.
10 different receivers.
What's his name? Cordero Patterson. He was getting off. Like,
I don't even know who
it was
Ben
bad.
Sharonek is. Who is that?
Yeah,
that's a wild name.
He got a 23-yard catch.
Yeah. There was just so many missed tackles. Like, it was so many missed tackles. Like, every level of that defense was bad. Every level of the Bengals defense was bad. But I do agree with you. Like, the saving graces, like, the Steelers defense looked a little exposed. They definitely did. Because it wasn't Jamar Chase didn't go off until the end of the game. He had that one catch at the end of the game.
Mm-hmm.
But everybody ate on the Bengals offense. Like Mike Gesicki, Higgins, that one guy whose name I cannot say. His first name is like Andre or something.
Yosheva?
Yeah, I'll let you have that. But, but like,
you got
like the Steelers defense can be had. They can be had, and I think we could play better against them. I think Cincinnati put together a solid game plan to attack their defense, and I think that's what we have to bank on. I don't think the Steelers are putting up 44 points again, because I don't think Russell is going to distribute the ball like that again. I think he's more of a guy that's going to stay in his ways, and he's going to go for that deep ball against us all day.
Yeah,
and that's what we need to be fearful for.
Yeah.
Now I will say, with Kyle Hamilton playing free safety now, a lot of those deep shots have kind of disappeared in the middle of the field. I will say that. So hopefully, maybe that'll be a little bit different. And they also, the Bengals did fumble the ball twice and lost it and threw an interception. So that you can't do that against the Steelers. You can't give them extra possessions. You just can't. You can't do that.
Yeah, one job. But I am glad that the Bengals are cooked, though, because that's not a team we want to see a third time.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Joe Burrow, though. Like, he's having one of his best years statistically. Like, you look at the stats, like, he's having a phenomenal year.
Yeah, he would have easily took MVP this year if they had a winning record.
They said, I think they compared him to other quarterbacks that were at the same spot in their years, and they were all had like a 9 wins, 10 wins. They all had like winning records, and he's been losing these games.
Yeah.
So again, you got a healthy Joe Burrow. You thought going in this year, a healthy Joe Burrow with this offense, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, that they were going to take it to another level. It just goes to show that you just can't. All the off-season talk and everything else, predictions and all that stuff means nothing. You gotta play the games.
Yo, Lamar's numbers are actually right there with Joe Burrow, surprisingly.
Lamar could hit
And
that's what-
4,000
that's
yards
without-
passing and 1,000 yards rushing.
Lamar has
Yeah,
29 TDs.
he's on track.
He has
Like
29
he's got what,
TDs, 3
657
interceptions.
rushing? He's got like 657 something rushing.
He got 33,290 passing. And Joe Burrow only has a couple 100 more. He has 3,337, 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Lamar has 29 TDs and 3 interceptions right now with 3,200 yards.
Has there ever been a quarterback to run for 1,000 yards and throw for 4,000 in a season?
I don't think there's been anybody to run for 1,000.
A quarterback
Besides
like
Lamar.
I don't know if any QBs ran
everything
for
that's
I don't
going
even
on.
think Vic
Lamar's
ran for
having his
1,000.
best. He's won unanimous MVP in 2019. He's having a 10 times better year statistically than he had that year when he won unanimous MVP.
And that's
What we're saying. Like this window right now for you have a quarterback winning MVP before he's 30 years old. He's won 2, could be winning 3 before he's 30.
Without a number 1 receiver. Ain't no Jamar Chase on the Ravens.
Can you imagine a Jamar Chase on the Ravens? A T. Higgins? That's who I want next year. Ravens didn't go out and get T. Higgins.
Yeah.
He's a 6'4", 220. They've been saying that what Lamar needs. Stop getting him these small receivers. He needs there's a reason why he throws to Mark Andrews and likely the most. There's a reason.
They got size.
He can throw the ball up and they can just go get it.
He's only had 3 games under 100 QB rating. Like he's only had 3 of those.
I think the narrative now with around Lamar is you can't say he's not a quarterback. He's having his best quarterbacky year. Was that that lady said quarterbacky? Is that quarterbacky enough?
It's not quarterbacky.
He's having his best quarterbacky year in his career, which is better than the 2 years he's won MVP.
Yep.
All right.
We got to get back. We got to get back to it, man.
On to our favorite subject.
Let's go.
Bells and Pookies. My bells this week I'll give it to Michigan football, winning a big game against Ohio State. And I can't remember the coach's name, black coach for Michigan. Did a fun look. They haven't had a great year all in all. They're probably not making a bowl, but beating Ohio State in Ohio just shows you like that guy's a hell of a coach. I'll give him credit. He's a hell of a coach. He could have an NFL job waiting for him. Not saying this year, but coming up. He can get the best out of his players. I'll give him that. Oh, and shout out to that guy, the cornerback, I can't remember his name, from Baltimore. He got a pick 6 in that game for Michigan against Ohio State. Got a pick 6. So shout out to him as well. Other bells. I don't have any more. This week kind of sucked. Like I look at if you look at the scores for most of the games, like outside of 2, most of the games are within 3 points, 2 points, and low scoring. Like it wasn't a lot. Outside of like a couple games, but that's what happens when you get December football.
Yeah, I got a couple. I'm gonna get the Steeler out of the way. We already talked about him. Russell Wilson, just putting up numbers that we haven't seen yet. I hate giving Steelers bells, but 414, 3 TDs. The shootout with Joe Burrow is no easy feat. I mean, their defense is ass, but you still got to go out there and perform. And those are just some really, really good numbers that we haven't seen. So I'll give him the bell. And it seems to be people are saying around the league that Russell Wilson has found his blackness in that Steelers organization. Like he's just
Mike Tomlin effect, bro.
Yeah, Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin is real. And I give Mike Tomlin.
You got that Uncle Ruckus out of him.
I'll go ahead and throw Tomlin in that mix too, because I guess he's responsible. And I watch Hard Knocks, and he outcoached every coach on Hard Knocks in episode 1. So I'll give him a bell for that. Moving on from the Steelers. Jameis Winston still getting a bell from me. Jameis Winston and Bo Nix. They gave us a hell of a primetime game.
That was a good game.
That was an amazing game to watch on TV. If you're a fan of football and you stayed up to watch that game, that was an incredible game. Jameis threw for almost 497. He threw for 500 yards, 4 TDs, 3 picks, 6s. But 4 TDs, 3 picks. He threw the ball 58 times. They barely ran the ball. I mean, Nick Chubb wasn't even needed in this game.
Nah.
And Bo Nix, even though he didn't have the statistical night that Jameis had, those big plays down the stretch, man, Bo Nix, he's turning into a superstar in front of our eyes. This is only year 1 for him. So, I'm going to go ahead and give him a bell as well. And my last bell, because I'd be remiss if I did not give him a bell, because I've trashed him for most of his career in the Pookie section. But Jerry Jeudy.
Man, you talk about a game.
9 catches, 235 yards, and a tutty. And this is coming off a game where he owned the Steelers in the snow, in a blizzard. He's getting a bell. I think this is the second week in a row he's gotten a bell from me.
They said he went from like 25th in receiving yards to like top 10 by that game alone.
It's crazy. 235. He's just cooking. This is like the definition of right place, right time. When Jameis drives back and he throws that ball up with his eyes closed, Judy's just right there. Judy's just right there waiting for it.
That's what he's doing, though.
He's getting a ton of yards after the catch. Jameis is just doing a great job of finding him open in space, and Jerry Jeudy's making the most of it. So those are my bells.
Hey, we gotta have a new rule, bro. You can't do 2 bells from the same game.
I had to.
I'm gonna still give Jerry Jeudy because he should have had 300 plus yards receiving if Jameis Winston had missed that throw, which would have been like a 90-yard touchdown.
Yeah, facts.
So, yeah. But anyway, I'm gonna move on. Hey, let me give a bell to a guy I love to hate, Josh Allen. I hate that man, but hey, he beat the 49ers. He's doing what he has to do. 3 touchdown performance, and he got engaged. Big shout out to him. He got what's that actress? Haley Steinfeld.
Haley Stanfield, right? Yeah.
So he got engaged too. So hey, big props to him. Hey, I gotta give my man another bell, man. This is one of the comeback stories of the year. Bryce Young. Ever since Rod Wave talked to him, this man has been playing phenomenal.
Facts.
They still losing, but he's going up against really good teams and taking them to the wire. Putting up numbers that he never put up before. My man was struggling to throw for 150 at one point, and he's throwing for 200 plus, 250 plus, almost 300 yards every week.
Mm-hmm.
He still don't got the talent around him, but hey, Bryce Young, you get a bell because I see the effort. I see your game improving. Keep on doing what you're doing.
Agreed.
Man, that's all I got, man. That's all I got. As far as bells, let's get these Pookies rolling.
Yeah.
Before I get to the Pookies, we have another bell to Nick Bonito, the outside linebacker for the Broncos. That dude is going to be a all-pro.
Yeah.
I was like, I saw when he ran a pick 6 back. I was because my friend is a Broncos fan. I was like, that's a safety, right? Nah, he's a linebacker. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that dude, that guy's going to be an all-pro. Like, the Ravens could have had him. Could have. Okay. Not salty.
A lot of those.
Not salty. All right, on to our Pookies. I'll start.
Damn. That's like
So
right
many.
after Tucker missed that extra point. It was like that's exactly how the stadium felt.
Just
Who's doing Tucker?
I'm not
doing
Tucker.
I won't. You got that one, Travis. You can get that one.
Oh my God.
I'll do EDC gets my Pookie. Again, the issues with this team have been prevalent since off season. We said it. We gotta get an edge rusher. We gotta go get some. They got cornerback help in Tre'Davious White, but you get an edge rusher. You got to fix the O-line. Did none of that. They thought they were fine. And I think this buddy system with John Harbaugh does not work because I think as a GM you have to work with. I have to build the best team possible to go win. It's the head coach's job to coach that team. I think that this buddy thing with him and Harbaugh has way too much say in who gets picked and what kind of player gets picked. And there are several players on the board. We look back each year of guys that were there on the board for us to go draft, and we're seeing them ball out elsewhere. Meanwhile, we're struggling with our 4th round project pick, 5th round pick, because he's a good guy. Had a lemonade stand when he was 10 years old. Eagle Scout. So EDC gets my Pookie because while Harbaugh gets judged, season to season, EDC gets judged on a more broader scale from year to year. And the way this team has been constructed over the last few years, it's not what we're used to. I just say that. And another Pookie from me goes to the NFL. And the vice president of the NFLPA. The comment was it Runyon, I think, made about Shair Al-Zaire, I think.
Yeah, we know what you're talking about.
Saying that you don't respect the game. Okay. Who's like doesn't respect the game and you don't respect the, all that last sentence was not necessary. What he said to Tucker. He's had a couple run-ins already. He's been fined a few times and everything else like that. But a lot of players have said these quarterbacks do late slides on purpose. It happens all the time. He slid. Shair was already kind of getting ready to tackle him in the midsection by the time Trevor Lawrence decided to slide. The NFL's got to do something about this quarterback protection stuff because even on the sideline, guys are hesitant to hit the quarterback because as soon as they put a foot out of bounds, they're going to throw a flag or they're going to get a penalty within a week, get fined $15,000. The NFL has got to do something about this. Not everything can go the offense's way. It's almost getting impossible to play defense in the NFL. It really is. They got to do something about this because now the quarterbacks are getting really egregious with it. Pat Mahomes especially. So those are my Pookies.
All right, man, let's get to it. I'm going to get these out the way because I don't really care that much about this team. But Brock Purdy, 11 for 18, 94 yards. They put up 10 points. They suck. Deebo Samuel, he's trash. 4 catches, 20 yards. Have continued to do nothing ever since he mushed his kicker. This is the 2nd or 3rd week in a row since then. So he's still on the Pookie train as well. Actually, I don't know if that's Chris Rock in the GIF or if that's Deebo Samuel because at this point he's looking crazy. and he's getting a Pookie for his outfits that he's been wearing every game. It's getting worse and worse. If you haven't seen it, go look at his last 3 outfits. Walking into the stadium. He's getting a Pookie for that. Also, Jameis Winston, he made both lists. He's on my Bells list and he's also on my Pookie list because he doesn't know how to throw an interception without it being a pick six. The guy is reckless. Sometimes, he's there and sometimes he's not. I mean, he'll always be a bell in my eyes, but this week I'm also giving him the Pookie because that pick six at the end of the game was egregious. You didn't have to do that.
What did he say in the post game? I hope God delivers
me from the pick sixes. Yes, and you're getting a Pookie for saying that too. He's not going to deliver you from that. This is who you are.
He needs prayer.
He does, but he's always going to be a bell in my book just because he's making for great TV. And what better Hard Knocks could you have? What a great year!
James Winston, man.
Which brings me to my my final Pookie. This is John Harbaugh, of course. You guys seen Office Space, right?
Yeah.
It's time to bring in the consultants. pull them in the back room and ask them, what do you say you do here? And get them up out of there, man. It's time to go. I saw Hard Knocks. I keep harping on this episode because it was so eye-opening. It wasn't eye-opening. It was really confirmation. It was confirming that he literally does nothing. They showed him in multiple lights. They showed him on the sideline during in-game, which he was doing nothing. When bad plays were happening, he was standing there doing nothing. He wasn't even saying anything. I don't think people even really talk to John Harbaugh when things are happening in the game. That's one. Yeah. Another setting was when he was they were in a meeting in a film room or in an auditorium setting with his team, and I guess he's motivating them. He sounded ridiculous. The guys looked pretty checked out, if you ask me. It didn't really look like they were into it. It was kind of like another day. And then the other setting was at practice, where he didn't speak to any players. He was making jokes with one of the other coaches, and that was about it. The whole time that was going on, Mike Tomlin actually coaching his players, actually in the coaches' meetings and talking about game plan, talking about what we're going to do, talking about individual players things we need to look for, all of that. Zach Taylor, same thing. Stefanski, same thing. Like, he even looked like a way better like, it's bad. He's on my Pookie list. And, it's not surprising when we have these games that are just mind-boggling and we're like, how the hell did we lose that game? The way we lost that game, it makes perfect sense because we don't have the top-down leadership that we need. And it begins with Harbaugh. He's my Pookie this week. Even in some wins, he's on that list, but I really had to highlight that going into the bye week because he can't keep getting away with this. I don't know what movie that is, but he cannot keep getting away with this. Like, he just cannot. It's criminal. That's it.
All right. I was going to go with Harbaugh, and I was also going to make a comparison between him and Michael Scott in The Office.
Hey, Paolo,
Like
you can still do it. Go ahead.
Yeah, you can still.
I'm
do
just.
Still do it.
I want to steal Trey's thunder, but I'm gonna have to do it, man.
Please.
Because Harbaugh is Michael Scott without the comedic relief. He does nothing. Everything he does is mediocre. Everybody around him is more talented and probably should be in his position more than him. And all he does is set up the team for failure and he gets bailed out by everybody that reports to him. That's John Harbaugh. He gets a Pookie. He's the most incompetent coach in the NFL. I don't think there's anything that he brings to the table outside of saying who has it better than us. That's all he brings to the table is that one slogan that his daddy made for him. Mother Pookie. Patrick McCarry, he's been awful. Pass protection, run protection, run game, run blocking. He's just been awful all around. He is not somebody we can rely on going forward. We either got to start looking at Voorhees or Ben Cleveland as we go forward. We have to give a strong look at them. I can't keep going on Harbaugh having this issue with Ben Cleveland, like Ben Cleveland's dating his daughter or something. Like, we can't keep going through this. Like, we need to put the best guys out there. Outside of that, Kirk Cousins, he's Kirk Cousining. We thought he turned that corner this year, going to the Falcons. He had some great game-winning drives, and he looked like he was playing well, but he's finally showed his face. Missed 4 interceptions. Hurt his team badly. The Falcons are now a 500 team after beginning this year so strong. So Kirk Cousins, you get a Pookie. And lastly,
Rodgers.
Let's just go. Who?
I was about to
Rodgers?
say Rodgers. Yeah.
They're 2-9,
hey,
right?
I was gonna give him a Pookie, but I was just tired of talking about
Zach
him.
Wilson
So
still has more wins than Aaron Rodgers with the Jets.
But Aaron Rodgers is he's in competition to win Pookie of the Year. I think we're at that place. I think he's an every week Pookie. But I really wanted to save this for the entire Ravens coaching staff. The entire Ravens coaching staff. Monken, the lack of adjustments, the lack of getting your quarterback in rhythm, or I don't understand your rotation of players and the and who's getting snaps or not. Granted, the defense played well. Kyle Hamilton is the only Raven that plays like a Raven on that defensive side of the ball. Yeah, as a coaching staff, I just think we're falling short. We're letting these players down. This is a more talented team than 8-5. This team should be competing for a number 1 seed. So I give the whole coaching staff a Pookie.
Not mad at that.
Oh, Tucker. No. Tucker. Tucker gets a Pookie. Don't make me forget Tucker.
Wait a minute.
I say this lightly because my wife just got home and she would kill me if she heard me.
She's a Tucker
my
fan,
wife
right?
is the biggest Justin Tucker
say it with
fan.
your chest, Travis.
I believe she would leave me for Justin Tucker. I believe she would totally leave me for Justin Tucker. Justin Tucker has been the weak link on the Ravens team for the past 20 games. He's been hit or miss since last season. You can't depend on this man. You have one job every game. Forget kickoffs, throw it out the window. You have one job every game, and that's to make field goals. It's not that you're missing 60-yarders, 66-yarders. We will shoot you bail for that. I think we all would. But when it comes down to these 30 to 40-yard field goals being missed, these extra points being missed, it's unexcusable. It's unexcusable. There hasn't been accountability. He's starting to show the accountability of John Harbaugh. You know, we're going around searching for answers. Is it Jordan style? Is it the holding? What is it? No, it comes down to one person and one person only, and that's the man in the mirror, Justin Tucker. He has to play better. You're getting paid too much money. We can't cut him. It's too big of a cap hit. But Justin Tucker needs to show up because this Ravens team, once again, is too talented for us to go deep in the playoffs and it come down to Justin Tucker turning into Billy Cundiff in an AFC championship game. We can't depend on him. Those days are over. And it's up to the coaching staff to start being a little bit more vigilant of this and adjusting because there's probably going to be a lot more fourth downs that we're going to have to go for because we can't depend on Justin Tucker. So Pookie for Justin Tucker, get that man out of here.
No, you made a great point there at the end. I was telling, I think, somebody at the tailgate that we were at, like the Ravens really have to start considering if they're on the opponent's side of the field, on the side of the 50, depending on where they are on 4th and 5, 4th and 3, to just stay on the field and go. Like you have, like right now, have a statistically a better chance of converting the 4th down than Tucker making that field goal. Like I think the Ravens really have to do that, but I think Harbaugh again trusts his guys to a fault, and he'll keep sending Tucker out there. He'll just keep sending him out there. And as I love Justin. I love Tucker and what he's done for this team since 2012. He was part of that Super Bowl run and everything. He's been a Hall of Fame kicker up to this point. But if they let him continue to kick like this and going into the playoffs, this could ruin his reputation in Baltimore. You're most remembered for what you did recently. Like it's a recent. This is how it all operates. This is a recency game. You're judged by what you did before you left. And I think Shannon Sharp said was one of the best quotes he said, I think, about retiring was, I'd rather leave before I'm ready than leave a year after than I'm supposed to. Where it's like all people remember how trash. Look at Aaron Rodgers right now. Look at Aaron Rodgers. Forget about the 4 MVPs, all that stuff. Everybody's gonna look at him like, oh, man, he's just awful. And everything that came with him with the New York Jets and how he, dismantled the team single-handedly and picked his own players and coaches and all that other good stuff. Like, I did never thought on my 2024 bingo card that the Ravens fans would be like, we got to cut Justin Tucker. But that's a real conversation. Like, if you want to be a solid team in the playoffs, I'm not saying he can't be the kicker, but you got to try. I would hope during the bye week, you got to bring in some guys. Hey, go kick. Let's see what you got. We got to try something. Because Justin's, it's just a technique thing. It's just a mechanics thing. That was like week 5, right? That was week 5, week 6. It was just a mechanics thing. Here we are going on week 14. It's not a mechanics thing anymore. It's up here. You got the yips. It happens. We've seen ace pitchers go through it all the time. Guy can throw a 99, 100-mile-an-hour fastball right down the middle. All of a sudden, can't throw down the middle no more. It happens.
Yeah.
Does he get out of it? And Harbaugh said this weeks ago. We're gonna let him get through this. He's a pro. We're gonna let him get through this. That's fine. If this was Nelson Aguilar, that's one thing. This is Charlie Kolar, something different. Tyler Wallace, whatever. When you got a guy that literally is responsible for putting points on the board with his foot, and he's missing them, that's a problem. We've been relying on Tucker for the last decade with his foot. He's won us several games with his foot. But now we're at a point where you're in a coldest part of the year. These games, as you saw with the points, like I said, the box scores and stuff, and these points are coming down. The games are a lot tighter. These field goals mean a lot more than what they did back in October and September. They lay them out more in January when it's raining, when it's snowing, when the field isn't quite right, and all this other stuff. And I don't like these excuses coming from Justin Tucker now. He's making excuses about the field, he's making excuses about the form, all this stuff. Like he's making it all these other excuses, but that comes from Harbaugh. There's no accountability in that in that locker room. Everybody's pointing at fingers at everybody. Everybody's doing the Spider-Man thing. They're just pointing at each other and pointing right back at each other. Like that's literally what they're doing. There's no accountability on them. Because I would guarantee you, if they go into that Giants game after a bye week and Tucker misses a field, even the Ravens win by like 25. If Tucker misses another field goal in the Giants game, I'm sorry, you might have put him out the pasture. The old Yeller, like it's time. It's time for real.
Yeah. It's sad, man.
So as we reflect on this bye week coming up, I'll ask you guys before we get out of here. What do you think the Ravens? What do they have to do? What do you think? What is the itinerary? What do you need to do to get ready? Not necessarily for the Giants, but like I said, after the Giants, you got what? You got the Texans, you get the Steelers, you get the Browns. I know the Texans aren't, like the good quality team, but you still C.J. Stroud is still a good team that could potentially play spoiler to you. What do you do during this bye week right now? If you're Lamar, if you're Rashad and Zay and Roquan and all the rest, what do you do during this bye week?
Listen, I mean, honestly, for a team like the Ravens and what we're going through, I mean, obviously the number one goal is to get to the point where we're playing like a Raven. And like you said, we have not done that up to this point. It's a bye week, but our next opponent is the New York Giants. So there's no use in even looking past them because we've seen what we've done against subpar teams. And, you look past the Giants and you mess around and get smacked in the mouth. Let's not forget this is a Giants team that's the only team that's, up until Sunday beat Lamar Jackson from the NFC. So I just think we can't look past any opponents at this point. We lost to the Raiders this year. We lost to the Browns. Like we've lost to teams that just clearly were not better than us. But they gotta find themselves. They gotta figure out how to find what their identity is. We thought we had that figured out, and it looked a lot closer to what our identity was earlier on in the year. Obviously, we had some defensive woes, but that was closer to at least offensively what our identity was. I feel like we lost that. I don't know if it's like some type of internal battle that they're having with the team and figuring out how to balance this offense and things like that. But something is clashing, and they got to kind of figure out what that is. Whatever the game plan is, they have to understand that, winning a football game is not having the best game plan. Winning a football game is being able to pivot from the game plan when necessary. And I think the Ravens go into these games with the game plan that look great in practice. And then when they show up out there, when it's time to make adjustments, it's kind of they're just kind of in a standstill. Everyone's hands is up and they're just kind of guessing at that point. And that's what it seems like. They got to work on some type of flow of the game, situational football, where if things arise in a game, they'll be able to pivot and adjust to it. The whole point and why our offense was successful, and you've heard it in every press conference that we've played well in offensively, was it's a pick your poison offense. Well, pick your poison offense does not work when we only have one form of poison to go off of. You have to use what you got. You got to use all your weapons. When Zay Flowers is not clicking, we should be able to run the ball. When Derrick Henry is not clicking, we should be able to pass the ball. When Lamar's inaccurate or guys are not open down the field, he should be able to pick it up and run the ball. Like you said, Travis, earlier, like the hesitation is something that, we got to get out of our heads with that. And we need to have a more definitive game plan that's easily adaptable to the situation of a football game. A lot of that is stuff like we said, for weeks, it comes from your head coach. But unfortunately, we're not going to get that overnight. We're not going to get that an extra week in a bye week. So that's just some of the things we just got kind of have to see happen. We're at the point in the season where there's a few things that no longer matters. Lamar Jackson MVP chase, not saying he still can't get it, but that can't matter anymore. That's not what the goal is. The goal is not for Lamar to win an MVP. The goal is for us to win a Super Bowl. And I think to get there, we just kind of have to throw numbers out of the window and figure out what's going to get us a win for this week only. And then we'll move forward and do that for each week. But we kind of just have to get in that mindset. Like it's whatever it takes to win a football game. And a lot of times in these games, we kind of see what's happening as the games take shape of what needs to be done. It's just a matter of doing it. There was several times in that game where, and I hate to go back to it, but it's just a part of what I'm saying. In that Eagles game where they were handing the ball off to Derrick Henry, and even the last couple of weeks, and he was getting nothing. He averaged 4 yards a carry. Don't get me wrong, he got like 82 yards, but there was several times we were handing the ball off in the same running schemes, and he was getting nothing. There's more than one way to make them respect the run game, and if that's not working because of blocking inabilities on one side, run into the other side, or if it's not working up the middle, make extensions of the run game to try to get them still to respect that part of your game. These are the type of adjustments that if I can make them from my couch watching at home or in the stands watching it from whatever role I'm sitting in, I don't understand why our head coach can't do that. So I think this bye week is going to be most pivotal for our coaching staff. They got to figure that out. It's not hard if you just sit down and do your job to watch film. I feel like, a lot of the national media and everything, they criticize the Ravens. It's a lot of criticism on the talent, not on the talent, but on the actual athletes themselves, on Lamar, our receivers, whatever the case may be, our defense. But it's not enough pressure being put on our coaching staff, and they got to take the brunt for this. I'm pretty sure they're going to give the team a chunk of time off, and it's going to be a period of time where they're not going to be practicing. But I don't think the coaches need to take any time off. They need to be working this entire bye week, honestly, and figuring out what's going to be the next move. What's going to be the pivot that's going to change us into the right trajectory to try to, 1, win this Giants game, 2, make the playoffs, and 3, be sustainable against good teams and the bad ones. So what it's going to take, it might take something that I don't know if we have it in us. But you asked the question, what's it going to take? I think that's what it's going to take. I think it's going to start with the coaching staff to just use common sense and be able to create a game plan going forward that's going to be adaptable, adjustable, and we should be able to hit a switch when something's not working. We should have the next thing already queued up to go to it. So I think that's the main thing to go with. I kind of like the direction the defense has gone, even though we still have some stuff to shape up. But our defense is good enough the way it is for us to be winning games. So I think we're in the right direction just to kind of build off of that as far as our roster. I would love to see those snap counts make a little bit more sense, like with the Oweh stuff and, with guys not getting in that should be in the game. But on the back end, I think we're fine. But coaching just got to get together. I mean, if there's a weak link on this team besides our kicker, it's the coaches. And Justin Tucker need to go to church or something. I don't know what he needs to do. He needs to go somewhere to say a few prayers and get his mind right, clear his head. I think he needs to deal with football not at all. I think he needs to not see a football for a week, come back to work on the week leading up to the game, and do what he got to do. But he has to separate from this game for a period of time. He's been practicing. That's literally all he does is kick. It's something there mental. I agree with you, Miles. He needs to separate during this bye week, take a trip to, I don't know, for Mexico or island, Fiji, go somewhere far and just don't deal with football. Come back with your mind clear, and get focused, man. Get remotivated. The team just needs to be remotivated. There needs to be another, some more juice. They need more juice. It just is what it is. I'm just not seeing it in the last 2 weeks. And hopefully we can just hit the hard reset and get back to being who we are.
I think on the Justin Tucker side, I think it's time to bring in a sports therapist if there's not one in there, because mentally he's screwed. So even when just getting away from the game, he's going to sit down with somebody and really just work it out, like a sports therapist. I remember we brought one in for Kyle Bowler. That didn't really work. but this may be something that may be
Oh,
something that we look at for Justin Tucker. But I mean, plus one everything, man. I think on the coaching side, we really got to evaluate what we have here. I think offensively, we need Monken to get back to the identity we had. Yo, I'm gonna say it every week: 40 touches to the backfield, 40 touches between Henry, Justice, Keaton, Lamar. 40 touches. Throwing it to the running backs, running to the running backs, Lamar carrying the ball. 40 touches. That's our formula. That's going to get us to 70 plus plays. 70 plus plays, we're winning the game. 70 plus plays, we're not settling for field goals. 70 plus plays. And that's what's got to be, man. We got to get back to our identity. We'll be successful if we do that. It's like we always have these identity issues in big games. We had 32 touches to the backfield against the Eagles. I don't remember what it was against Kansas City week 1. I can't remember what it was in the AFC Championship. But I do know we lose our identity in big games. And that's the problem. So offensively, we got to get back to what made us successful. I think we got to look like, Corey kind of talked about it. I think we should look at a rotation, just kind of work some other guards in towards the end of the season just to kind of see what we have there. Because if anything, like this Giants game is a good game where we could rotate a couple of these players just to see what the performance is looking like with Cleveland, with Voorhees, just to see if there needs to be a change made. Because, like, we're getting killed in the interior. I know, like, a lot of that is Linderbaum is one of the smallest centers, and he doesn't have long arms either. So, I mean, we expect Linderbaum, like, you put a big nose tackle up on him, it's not a recipe for success. So the play of the guards is really crucial. Defensively, I think we got to keep making strides. We got to figure out like this rotation of guys, the snap count thing. We got to figure out what's going on with Simpson, why OA got his snaps cut. Like I know Tavius is a monster. I've been advocating for him since last year. He's a monster in the making, but we need OA out there. We need more production from Stevens. Hopefully, some breathing room will help him rest and get back to that level of play he had last year. Because Nate Wiggins has been our best cover corner. Marlon has played well. I think Marlon's been our best player in that secondary. But I think Wiggins has been our best cover corner this season, and that's not what you want. You don't want a rookie being your best cover man. Yeah, can keep on improving on defense, figure out Justin Tucker, figure out how we can we need more out of Harbaugh, man. I know it's I feel like we said that like 25 times on this podcast episode, but we need more out of Harbaugh. We need him to do some soul searching on what he can do to get this team to that next level. We haven't seen it. And I think they gotta figure out, like, are these voices tuning out? I think he needs to figure that out. And if they are, how can he tune them back in? Never seen a situation like this Deontay Johnson one. Somebody refusing to enter the game. We haven't seen anything like this Marcus Williams thing, because even when Bernard Pollard, spoke out, he didn't get benched. Earl Thomas, that was more of he punched somebody in the mouth. But, are these players starting to tune him out? We're seeing frustrations with Zay. It's a lot. It's a lot going on right now. And if they are really tuning Harbaugh out, he needs to figure out how to tune them back in and get them focused on the task at hand. I think that's his homework. And Bisciotti, he needs to really evaluate this whole organization as we go into the offseason from the top down. I'm not saying fire EDC, but I think he needs to evaluate this little bromance relationship between EDC and Harbaugh. He needs to evaluate Harbaugh. He needs to evaluate the staff. He needs to evaluate how we're doing things, because you can't keep leveling out as a playoff team that loses in the first, second round. Just can't. You have a franchise quarterback who is now at a discount. with the way the QB market is. He's on a discount. You have to maximize. The window is there. The window is there. So I think we need to evaluate. That's what I need him to do. But yeah, we need to figure out our identity, man. That's what it's going to come down to.
I wish I could have the same homework that you have for John Harbaugh, but I can't, because he's been a head coach now for over 10 years, 12 years. He is who he is at this point. He's a cheerleader. That's what he does. I can't expect him to raise his coaching level to a level that he's never raised it to. I could say that maybe about Jim, maybe even his dad, Jack. Can't say that about John. I think this team is going to go. Look, I know it's not fair, but it is what it is. This team's going to go as far as Lamar takes them at this point. Like, it's going to be on him. It's not fair to Lamar that they built this team like this, to be like, Lamar save us, but that's the team he's been playing for the last 5 years. It's been Lamar save us in these situations. And this year this year and last year, there's several plays, several drives have been stopped because Lamar decided not to run, to start a pass down the field. He's looking for a 30-yard pass down the field instead of taking off and going, or looking at the 5-yard route, down, right there underneath, or taking what's been given to him. These defenses are doing the same thing. I think Lamar, he's got to get out of his own head and just go play football. I think he thinks too much when he's out there. That's why I think that's why, honestly, why the ball is floating the way it is. It's almost like he's wondering, should I throw it? And then he just lets the ball go, and then it just sails on him. Because beginning of the year, he was a lot more confident. He was a lot more concise. Like, he knew he was throwing the football here, and those things were darts. Like, he was throwing touch passes. Things were just like in the bread basket. They were right there, like on a dot. And now you're starting to see something very uncharacteristic. And it's like, you haven't seen any injury reports. Lamar hasn't said he's hurt or anything. So, you guys saying that this, you can tell Lamar in his head is in playoff mode, because he's starting to feel the pressure now. It's shown with the play. He's starting to feel the pressure, because it's fine when you're playing in September, October, but when you start getting to week 13, week 14, you only got 3-4 games left. Like, the playoffs are upon us. Like, they're going to be here before you know it. You're playing for a playoff spot, hopefully maybe trying to at least get one home game for the playoffs. And it looks like Lamar is feeling that. It's like when that meme they show with the soldier and the PTSD and stuff. It's like he's reminding himself of 2020 and 2021 and 2022 and 2020. He's literally reminding himself now of all this stuff that's happened prior to. And a lot of times, it's the same thing with pitchers in baseball, right? You're an ace pitcher. You're normally used to striking dudes out. But then that one guy comes up, cracks a 50-foot home run to center field. But guess what? You got to go right back on that mound the next batter and strike that guy out. You can't worry about what just happened. You got to go continue to do your job. And I think that's the thing about what this team is going forward. I think that the defense, hopefully they'll work out the rotation stuff this week, figure out who needs to be on the field for what packages, and realize who they're playing and the personnel they're going to be playing, and make the adjustments based on that in the game. I think this is the defense, as far as Tavius Robinson, Odafe, Ajabo, a few of those other guys, going to be very fluid. I think it's really going to depend on the teams that they're playing and who gets the most snaps based on what the style where they're going to be going against. I think it appears that they have somewhat figured it out. They got to figure out a way also on defense, start getting takeaways. They got to start taking the football away. Too many times now we're seeing this offense start on their own 20, on their own 15, and having to go 80, 90 yards down the field. I would love to see the Ravens get some opportunities at this point in the season of starting at the team's 40, starting to give them a short field, go get a quick score. Just get some momentum, get something going. Because time and time again, because of the penalties and stuff, they only had 4 in this Eagles game. But time and time again now, we've seen too many games where the Ravens are having a good drive, then they have a holding call, false start, legal formation. Throws the whole thing off. As soon as the Ravens get a penalty on one of those drives, it throws the whole drive off. So I need to raid the Ravens defense, finding out a way to taking the ball away on defense. On offense, you got to readjust the offensive line. You can't say, oh, we're going to stick with what works because it hasn't worked. You've lost the last 2 out of your 3 games against quality teams. When you look at the Ravens' record in the AFC right now, they're mid. They're mid. Yeah, they have a great record against NFC teams, but their AFC schedule, their record is not good. It's not. So whatever you have right now in the O-line, you got to make changes. Start bringing in Rashawn Ali and Keaton Mitchell involved in the backfield of this offense. Get Deontay. If Deontay Johnson is still on this team after the bye week, you got to start getting him some catches, some targets. They can't keep leaving stuff on the field, leaving the yams on the table. I'll start from. You keep leaving the yams on the table. Somebody else gonna get the yams. And then you get none. That's where I'm at this bye week for the Ravens. All right. Well, that's it from us. We got a little break. Not stressing ourselves out, not growing any more gray hairs this week, at least. We can kind of chill out, watch the Ravens not have to play, and watch the rest of these teams play in the NFL and get some decent football games. But we'll be back next week and talk about this Ravens against the Giants. Hopefully the Ravens pick it back up. But that's it from us. And we'll catch you guys next week. Peace.
Peace.